Welcome back to Smoky Ribs. I'm Russ Jones. It was a week ago this morning that I took a 13-pound brisket, prime brisket, that I got from Matador Prime Steak Company, and I removed the decal, or the point, from this prime brisket. I made burnt ends with that. If you haven't seen that video, please check it out. I'll have a link at the end of this video and a iCard. So anyway, what I done with the flat immediately after shooting that video is I made a brine, and it's been brining for 7 days. I'm gonna walk you through the whole process. We're gonna back up to last week. We're gonna get started with it right after this.
If you wanna cook backyard barbecue till you get your feel, you come to the right place. Russ Jones Smoky Ribs. Smoky Ribs. Smoky
First thing we gotta do is make a pickling spice, and I'm gonna start with 2 tablespoons of black peppercorns. I'm putting these in this skillet because I've got to toast these here in a few minutes. Now I'm going in with 2 tablespoons of coriander seed. Now 2 tablespoons of mustard seed. We'll take that and we're going to transfer that into a glass bowl. Into that, I'm going in with 2 tablespoons of juniper berries, 2 tablespoons of allspice berries, 2 tablespoons of red chili flakes, 2 tablespoons whole clove, 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of mace. I took 1 cinnamon stick and I busted it up. Now I'm going to cut it up into small pieces. Now I've got 20 bay leaves. I'm going to take a pair of scissors and we're just going to cut this up. Now I'm just going to take and mix this in real well. As I mentioned earlier, this requires 1/4 cup of the pickling spice in this recipe, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove 1/4 cup's worth, and it's looking like 1/4 cup. Now let me show you what I'm going to do with this pickling spice. This is something that you can use on various recipes, and I'm going to show you a way to keep this nice and fresh. Alright, so what I've done is I've taken a mason jar, I took the remainder of this pickling spice, and all you want to do is just lay your lid on here. I've got it set to go, so let's give it a try. So there you go. Going to put our lid on it. Going to store this in a nice, cool, dry place. That's another beauty that I love about this VacMaster. It allows you to do things like this. Now it's time to put this brine together. This brine holds 2 gallons of water, so I'm starting with 4 cups because this is what I'm going to put all the brine ingredients into. We're going to heat this up, so I'm starting with 4 cups. 2 gallons is 32 cups, so I'm using my first 4 now. Alright, we already know we need 1/4 cup of the pickling spice going in. Going in with 1½ cups of kosher salt, adding 1 cup of white sugar. Going to add in 6 teaspoons of the pink salt or sodium nitrite. And before you ask, yes, you have to have this. You want these to be level teaspoons. There's 1. And as you can see, I've already got the pot simmering. That's just to dissolve your sugars and your salts. I'm going to add in about a 1/4 cup of honey. Just going to eyeball this. That should be pretty close. And 1/2 cup dark brown sugar. All right, turn my heat back up a little. Everything is dissolved, all my sugars, all my salt, so I'm going to go ahead and kill the power on this. The only ingredient I lack is about 10 cloves of garlic. I'm going to go ahead and add that. It's still plenty hot, and just going to let this cool down naturally. I've added 28 cups of water. 4 cups went into the brine, so that's a total of 32 cups, which equals 2 gallons of water. So I'm going in with my brine. Give it a good stir. All right, we're nice and cool. We're going in with the brisket. All right, we're going to lock this down to make sure it stays underwater, just like so. Going to place our lid on it. That is it. This is going outside in the garage. I have a full-size refrigerator out there. We're going to place it in the refrigerator. We're going to let it hang out for about 7 days. We'll see you in 7 days. Let's take a look 7 days later and see what we got here. Ooh, that brine smells really good. There we go. Now from this bucket, we're going straight into this pot. This is just fresh water. We're just going to let that hang out for about an hour, hour and a half. That is going to leach out any excess salt. Actually, this is corned beef at this stage. You could take this and boil it. You could do your cabbage, your potatoes, and you would have a St. Patrick's Day meal. But we're going to take it to the next level. Getting ready to make a rub for this. It's going to come out, like I said, in about an hour and a half after it has time to leach the salt out. We're going to dry it off. We're going to put mustard. We're going to put black pepper and coriander. And from there, it's going to the smoker. I removed the brisket flat from the water that it was soaking in. Soaked for roughly an hour and a half, like I said it would. I took paper towels and blotted this as dry as I could. It's still very wet. This thing has been soaking in a brine for 7 days, so I'm sure it's through and through. So I've got some yellow mustard here, and we're going to have a binder on this. So therefore, yellow mustard is my favorite binder. And the reason why you need a binder, normally, you know, you can take a rub and put on meat, and the salt will make it sweat, make it adhere. Keep in mind, there's no salt in this rub. All the salt is already in the meat. Actually, all the flavor is already in the meat. All the stuff you've seen me add is through and through in this meat. A brine is kind of a funny thing, weird thing. It's got all the salt, which actually pulls the moisture out of the brisket, and then it reabsorbs it, and with it, it takes all the flavor of that brine. Now we're going to apply this black pepper and coriander, coarsely ground. And so you know, I've got 1/4 cup black pepper, 1/4 cup coriander seed. So we're just going to press this in. Going to flip it over and do the exact same thing. Now, if you'll notice, I didn't show this on video, but after the first day, I got to thinking, I'm like, you know, I really need to put some crosshatch marks throughout this fat right here. So that's what I did. I pulled it out and I just scored the fat. You can see it here. That just helped that brine get into the meat that much better. right, we got our brisket in place. I'm gonna put another thermometer to monitor the internal temperature. Just like that. All right, we are good to go. And in case you're wondering, I am burning cherry wood for smoke. I've been going a little over 4 hours, almost 4.5 hours. And earlier I took and flipped the brisket to the fat side cap up just to get some color on that. And I'm at 155 degrees internal temp. I've got the color I want, got plenty of smoke. So we're gonna go ahead and open this Kamado up. I've got 2 layers of foil here. I'm going to remove this. And we're going to lay it in this foil. We're going to close our Kamado back up. So like most pits, anytime you open this lid, you want to take care of business quick. Otherwise, you're going to raise the temperature in it. So I'm just going to take and you want to do this very tightly. If you have a loose foil packet, then you're going to create a lot of steam, which is going to affect that crust that we've developed. So get this just as tight as you can. All right, I'm going back on a pit, and we're going to ramp this thing up to around 300 degrees to where we can expedite this cook and have it done in a lot shorter time. All right, we're going to place it right here. I've got my meat probe. We're going to go about center. And I'm looking for somewhere around 200 degrees. Now normally, you know, I would start probing around 200. So between 195 and 200, I'll start probing. Till then, we're just going to let it rock. I am running 203 degree internal temp. I just had this open so it's dropped off. I've been running around 300 degrees. It's down to 271 but climbing back up. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and take and probe this meat. I probed it at 195 and at 200, and now it's showing about 204. So let's just probe and see what we're probing like. That's probing pretty good. I'm running 208 on this thermometer. It's 206. 207. All right, this is ready to come off. I'm going to pull this cable here. I'm going to remove this. We're going to take it inside. We're just going to let it rest and hang out for 30-40 minutes. Been resting this pastrami for around 45 minutes. And I'm going to take and I'm going to pull back the foil. I kind of opened it a little bit just to let some of that heat out. You want the moisture to redistribute back into the meat, and it really can't do that until it cools down some. And it's still hot. It's still hot on the bottom especially. Now I'm going to remove this off to the side because I want to retain this juice. And I'm going to grab this pastrami and lay it right there. All right, so my grain is running this way, kind of diagonal, and I'm gonna just took a little piece. Oh, that's good. We're just gonna slice this really thin. Oh God, that's good. So the object is to get this really thin. That's somewhere around 1/8 of an inch. And what I'm probably going to do is, once I get enough for everyone to eat tonight, I'm going to chill this down, and I will probably finish it in my meat slicer and get it even thinner for like deli slices, you know, like deli thin. But this is looking beautiful. Look at that wall-to-wall pink. And for all of you that don't know about pastrami, it's supposed to be pink. That don't mean it's raw. Believe me, this is 210 degrees. It's anything but raw. So hey, I am stoked of the results of this. That is absolutely fantastic. I had that one little tidbit. We're going to go a little bit New York tradition here. We're going to do a rye and pastrami sandwich out of this. And like I said, I'm going to chill the rest of this, and tomorrow I will put it on my meat slicer and get some real good thin deli type slices. I really could have done that now. I figured this brisket was just going to fall apart on me if I tried to run it through a slicer, but I actually could right now. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to slice it up, and we'll store this in the refrigerator for however long it lasts. Now, to reheat this, what I would suggest is take a pot with boiling, water in it, and get the water boiling. Take your steamer basket that fits your pot and just re-steam it to reheat it. That's what I'll be doing with the leftovers, unless you want cold pastrami. All right, so like I said, we're going kind of traditional New York. I'm using some spicy brown mustard. I'm going to apply this to some rye bread. This is a Jewish rye bread. Take and layer that on nice. Now we're just going to apply the pastrami. I think that's going to be enough. Going to put our cap on it. All right, so there we go. There's a lot of things you can do with this sandwich other than just the traditional mustard, pastrami, and rye bread. You could toast the bread. You could melt Swiss cheese on top of this, or any cheese of your liking. You could do numerous things with it, actually. But like I said, I'm going to keep it more traditional. I'm going to take, and we're going to cut this. Let's take a look at that. So I'm going to take this half right here. Look at that, man. A beautiful color. That is that salt-cured pastrami look. Turned out fantastic. Very happy with the way that turned out. God. It's my first time ever doing this pastrami, but I guarantee you it will not be my last. I'm thinking about getting an eye around and doing, like, where you can slice it in the deli slicers and have more of the round look. And from what I've gathered from doing a little research on this, the navel section of the cow, which is the belly section, is what they originally made pastrami with. But brisket works great. But I'll be trying different things as I go along. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, smoke your ribs.